We've all been there, right? You see this stunning image from an AI, but something's just a little bit off. Maybe a hand has an extra finger, or a teacup is kind of melting into the table. Well, today we're going to dive deep into a fascinating timing problem at the very heart of these creative AIs to find out exactly why that happens.
It's a frustration we all know. You spend all this time crafting the perfect, super detailed prompt, and the AI comes back with a dragon that has 6 legs or a background that's all warped. Turns out, this isn't just some random glitch. It's actually a fundamental problem with how these models learn in the first place. So, to really understand what's going on, we have to look past the final image, beyond the pixels, and into a hidden struggle happening inside the AI itself.
Right now, the way we train these models is by showing them images and telling them which ones we like better. It's a process that helps align them with human taste. But there's a huge blind spot in how we do it. We're missing a totally crucial piece of the puzzle, the element of time.
And here it is. This is the culprit. Researchers have a name for it, the temporal uniformity assumption. It's basically this flawed idea that every single step an AI takes to create an image, from a screen full of digital noise to a finished picture, is equally important. And, as we're about to see, that assumption is just fundamentally wrong. And that brings us to the real secret here, the secret of timing. The big breakthrough is realizing that in an AI's creative process, not all steps are created equal, not by a long shot.
Okay, so to get this, you first got to understand something called generative timesteps. Think of them as tiny little sequential stages an AI goes through. It starts with just a canvas of complete random noise, and then, step by step, it refines it until a clear image starts to appear.
The researchers who figured this out use a fantastic metaphor. Imagine an astronaut exploring a brand new galaxy. The first few steps are these massive galaxy-altering decisions, charting the overall course, choosing which star system to even visit. The last few steps? Those are just tiny adjustments, aligning the ship for a perfect landing. It's obvious that those initial decisions have a way bigger impact on where you end up.
And this chart from the research paper just lays it out perfectly. It shows that the potential for making big, meaningful changes is highest in the earliest steps. That's where the AI makes its huge structural choices. The later steps, they're all about refinement, where any changes have a much smaller impact on the final image.
So here's the problem in a nutshell. Most current models treat that huge chart the course decision with the exact same importance as a tiny adjust for landing tweak. It's like yelling at the astronaut for a slightly bumpy landing after they've already flown to the completely wrong galaxy. The feedback is coming way too late.
And this is where the solution, and the really cool part, comes in. It's a brand new method called TempFlow-GRPO, and it brilliantly solves this timing problem with 2 very clever innovations.
So at a high level, it does 2 really smart things. First, it uses something called trajectory branching to figure out which specific steps in the process actually mattered. And second, it uses what's called noise-aware weighting to apply the learning pressure intelligently, focusing it where it will have the most impact. Let's break those down.
The first innovation is trajectory branching. The easiest way to think about it is like A/B testing for the AI's entire creative journey. It's just a genius way to isolate the impact of one single decision. See, the old way was basically just a guessing game. If an image turned out bad, you had no real way of knowing which step was to blame. Was it something that happened at step 2 or step 8? Who knows? But with trajectory branching, the AI can test one single change at a time, say at step 3, and then see exactly how that affects the final image. It lets the AI assign credit or blame with absolute surgical precision.
Now, the second big idea, noise-aware weighting, is all about applying that learning in the most efficient way possible. It focuses the AI's attention on the moments that are truly critical to the final outcome.
So the old way, it just applied the same amount of learning pressure at every single step. But this new method is way smarter. It puts a ton of learning pressure on those early, high-impact steps where the big decisions are being made. And then it eases off for the final fine-tuning stages. It just makes sense, right? It matches the learning intensity to the actual potential for change.
Okay, so the theory sounds great. It makes a lot of sense, but does it actually work in practice? Well, the proof, as they say, is in the pixels.
And the proof is right here. On this key benchmark that tests how well an AI understands complex prompts, the base model scores a 0.63. The previous state-of-the-art method? It gets to a respectable 0.90.
But TempFlow-GRPO, this new method, hits an incredible 0.97. That is a massive leap in performance.
And get this, it's not just better, it's almost 3 times faster. The new method reached the same peak performance as the old one, nearly 3 times more efficiently. It's proof that it's learning smarter, not just harder.
And these numbers translate into images that are visibly better. I mean, just take a look at this example from the paper. For the prompt, a tiny dragon in a teacup, the old method creates all these weird artifacts and distortions. But the new method? It creates a coherent, beautifully detailed image, preserving everything from the dragon's scales to the teacup's texture. Simply put, you get fewer weird mistakes.
So what does this all mean for the future of AI creativity? Why should you really care about all this?
So let's boil it down. By learning smarter, AIs can now achieve a much better alignment with our prompts, and that gives us more reliable, more controllable creative tools. And, maybe most importantly for us, it means we'll finally see fewer of those subtle, reality-breaking mistakes that just pull you right out of the image. Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought to chew on. This research essentially teaches an AI the importance of timing within a creative process. So, if it can master the art of knowing when to make big decisions and when to just fine-tune the details, what other complex creative tasks, like writing music or designing architecture or maybe even scientific discovery, what could it master next?